All right, we will continue now with our software training. As we left off, we saw that now we have a check mark, a blue check mark, on our main info form or sheet in the forms tree. So that means that there's nothing else on this return, that on this portion of the return, that we can do. Everything's complete. Now the only thing that we need to do is go ahead and complete all other forms that have an exclamation mark that need our attention. Also, duly note that, when keying in information and people's names, please turn on the caps lock key. That way, that helps you quickly prepare the returns, as where you won't have to click caps lock, type a letter, click caps lock off, and then type the rest of their name. Just, if you could actually key in everyone's name with caps locks on, that would be great. And it'll show up like so here. All right. The next form in this tax return that needs our attention in the forms tree is the 1040 page 1. So we're going to click on 1040 page 1 just to see what it is requiring us to actually answer or fill out. And we're going to scroll down. And remember, again, we're looking for red lines, red boxes. And okay, we've come to a question. There's our red boxes, and it says, did you itemize deductions last year and receive state or local tax refunds, credits, or offsets? And so this is what you want to ask your client. Did you itemize deductions last year, or did you receive state or local tax refunds, credits, or offsets? We'll say in this case the answer is no, and we'll tab off. And you'll see that we got a blue check mark, meaning that on this form, the only thing we needed to fill out was that question. Now, when it did ask about, did you itemize deductions last year and receive state or local tax refunds, it was referring to maybe the time, when everyone got the stimulus checks, different credits and things of that nature. If they just did a regular tax return and they didn't receive any state or local tax refunds or credits or offsets, just answer no. If they did, you'll just have to ask them what type of refunds, credits, or offsets, or state or local income tax did they receive. We're going to select no for this situation here. All right. The next section of our forms tree that it has an exclamation mark or needs our attention is form 2441 page 1. And you want to start from the top of every form. This is the credit for child and dependent care expenses. From on the main info sheet where we selected DC for dependent care credit, this is actually where we enter it in. But only in the case that, a person did have dependent care credit for their dependent. We're going to go ahead and input the care provider's name. And what that is, if the care provider was an actual daycare center, then you would type in the daycare or child care center's name. If it was an individual, let's just say it was a family member, the grandmother, we would type in the grandmother's name, the street address, zip code, city, and state where the child has been watched. And if it's a person, you'll type in their social security number. If it's a business, you'll contact that business, or they'll give you a receipt that actually has their EIN number on it. And then you'll type in the amount paid. So I'm going to go ahead like so. I'm going to say paid child care at, and remember, caps locks on, everyone, Little Lambs Daycare. And when you're typing in things in tax-wise, if it runs out, just type it all the way to the run out bar, and that's fine. That's how the IRS will accept it. And you'll see on a lot of forms that you guys will receive from clients, you'll see things that are typed out to the end and so forth on some things. All right, next we're going to key in the street address. You're going to want to ask your client to, provide you with the street address for this child care center. If they don't know it by heart, you can utilize things like Google and so forth. Type in the zip code. Again, TaxWise does calculate the zip codes, the city and states. And if this was a business like it is, we'll just click here for EIN. Type in that person's EIN number. Or if it's a social security number, have them call that person and get their social and type it in there. You're going to type in the amount that the person actually paid for child care that year. Tab off. If that person paid for child care for multiple children, then you can actually put in child number 2 right here. All right. You see that we still have an exclamation mark, so that means that there's some things on this form that still needs to be filled out. So we'll just scroll down. Again, we're looking for red lines, red boxes. And basically all it's asking right here is that you enter in the same information that you entered above. It says the qualified expenses. What was the expense you paid for the child. Now, we're going to enter the full amount here and tab off. But in the case that there are 2 children, then it wants to know how much you pay for each child. So quite naturally, you can go to Tools and Calculator. You'll type in that amount, $24.40 divided by 2. And you would type in $1,220 for each child, or how much, if it was an even split, you would type in an even split, or how much, this dependent was, qualified expenses was for this dependent versus this dependent. So we're only utilizing one dependent right now, but if there was 2 again, you just type in the second dependent's name, social, and the amount of expenses for that dependent. If it was a total of $2,440, then divide the expenses among the 2, if they went to the daycare at the same times. All right. So now we don't have an exclamation mark. Basically, we have blue check marks on all of our forms in our forms tree. And our return is pretty much complete. The only thing that we need to add in is income. You can't generate an AGI refund without income. Very important, income falls along the lines of, and you guys may want to jot this down, any means of taxable income. Any means of taxable income. What that means is any income that's taxable or earned. Child support is not taxable income. Receiving welfare or government benefits is not means of taxable income. A lot of forms of disability aren't means of taxable income. And you guys want to be careful when filling out a tax for someone that has, disability or someone that's on disability, because of the simple fact, they may want a refund at the time, but if they, file a tax return and they are getting disability and they are totally disabled, meaning that they're not allowed to work anywhere for any amount of time, then they risk having their disability check turned off. And the only way they can get it turned back on is after they pay back the money that they got for their tax refund and prove that they cannot make any type of income, that they are incapable of making income. That's why they're on disability in the first place. So, if you run into someone that is on disability, just explain that to them, because you wouldn't want to see that person getting their disability turned off just because they're trying to get a tax refund. I always just, tell people, hey, look, I know, during these times it seems that it gets kind of hard and, you want a refund like everyone else, but, you don't want to get that disability turned off because this is your livelihood for the entire year. Now, you will run into some people that are getting disability, but at the same time, they are allowed to file, and they just can't make over a certain amount. The people that get disability and they say, hey, I can work some hours, they can't make generally over between $8,000 to $10,000. So, just keep that in mind when filing their tax return. Just let them know, hey, look, you're not supposed to be, working a whole lot and making a lot of money. Now, if they are, and they want to file it, just make sure you put it in. But $8,000 to $10,000 is usually the limit that they can make, if they are on disability and they are able to work. All right. Now, as far as taxable income, the most common types of taxable income that you guys are more than likely to deal with will be W-2s, 1099s, and self-employment. So basically the working class, subcontractors that may work for a company or they work for themselves but under a company, or they're just, sole proprietors and they're self-employed on their own. All right. Now, to add income, first you must ask the client what type of income they brought with them. Did they bring a W-2, 1099, or are they self-employed? All right. We're going to start with W-2s. So, to find how to input a W-2, very important. You guys may want to jot this down. From any page you can get to this, it says add form. It doesn't matter what page you're on. Add form is always going to be there. So we're going to select add form, and then we're going to type in W-2. And tax-wise, it'll automatically find this, whatever form you're looking for. All you have to do is type in, the form, and it'll find it for you. And you can go ahead at that point and you can double click on it there. You can, click open here, highlight it here, and hit enter. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to go ahead and hit open. And we're going to open up this W-2 form. And we're going to want to review the W-2 that the client has given us. We want to review the W-2 that the client has given us. Again, we're going to want to start from the very top of the form. And it says U.S. W-2, wage and tax statement, tax year 2013. Even though this isn't in red, we are looking for red lines, red boxes. It's asking, this W-2 statement is for the taxpayer or the spouse. So we're preparing a taxpayer's return. We can tab off. Now this is also something that tax-wise, will, fill out for you. But, I just like to go ahead and click it and get that out of the way. All right. Now we're just going to go on down and we're looking for red lines, red boxes. One thing that you definitely want to make sure is that the Social Security number of your client is correct on that W-2. I have seen Social Security numbers incorrect. I have seen employees' names spelled wrong on W-2s. Verify that the employee name and their Social Security number is correct on that W-2 that they've handed you. All right. The first box says check here if the W-2 is handwritten, altered, or appears not to be a true W-2. So what you can do, if someone brings you a bogus or fake W-2 and you kind of feel it's a fake W-2, just go ahead and click there, fill out the return like nothing's wrong, and send it off. And it alleviates your guiltiness in this situation if someone gives you a bogus W-2, because you've already checked that this W-2 seems to be handwritten, altered, or it appears not to be a true W-2. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get into an altercation with a client or anything. You just go ahead and prepare it and, say, hey, look, contact the IRS if you need, info on your tax return, because right now, they're not giving us any info. And you can give them the number to the IRS, which again is 1-800-829-1040. 1-800-TAX-1040. And there's also another button in our banking part of the software that asks, do you think that this return needs to be reviewed by the fraud department? You can click that as well and send it off. That alleviates, you getting in trouble for filing something bogus that somebody's bringing in. All right. So we're going to say that all of John's info matches his, his ID and his social security cards. So we don't, and his W-2s look pretty authentic. So we're going to go ahead with the return. All right. We want to check here if the taxpayer's address is shown on the W-2. So if this address that you typed in off your client organizer is correct, then go forward. But, if the address is different on the W-2, because sometimes people may have been working at a place 2 or 3 years, but they may have moved, but they never updated their address where they moved to with the company that they work for. So the company may, still send the W-2 out with the, original address on it, and maybe, the client went by and just picked their W-2 up with their last check or something. So that may be why they didn't send it out. But just verify and make sure that the address is correct. We're going to assume that it's correct on this one. But if the address was different, it's no biggie. Just type in the correct address, zip code, and city and state. All right. We're going to scroll on down. And basically, this is what a W-2 looks like. This is what the numerical part of a W-2 looks like. And we want to make the W-2 in our hand match the W-2 on our screen. We don't want to alter anything. We don't want to change anything. We want to key everything in exactly like it is on the W-2. That's simple enough. That's all you have to do. I mean, it's very simple. So we'll start with the employee identification number. It's usually in box B on a W-2, but you'll see employer ID, and it'll always be 2 digits, then a dash, then 7 more digits. You want to tab off, and don't worry about the name code. TaxWise calculates the name code. And if you try to type something in name code, it'll tell you. Calculated entry, right-click to see choices. So the software will calculate that entry. So here, let's type in that this person works for Kroger. All right. So we're going to tab off. Automatically, the name code is generated. It's usually the first 4, letters of a company. And now you see it's in yellow, so TaxWise does calculate that. Employer's address, you're going to want to look at that W-2 and type in the exact address that employer has. And then type in that employer's zip code, city, and state. Then tab off. If by any chance, you get a return that or a W-2 that has a foreign address, foreign city, province, or state, just enter that in. 9 times out of 10, you won't, but you may, you may. So you just want to make it match, just like what we have. All right. Now, the next thing it's asking us to key in is wages, salaries, and tips. All right. Now, as we enter in the wages, salaries, and tips, we're going to say he made $12,276.89. If it has cents on the W-2, you want to type in cents in your software, and TaxWise will automatically round the cents. If it's over 50 cents, it'll round this dollar up. If it's 50 cents under, it'll stay the same. So 2 things are going to happen when I actually tab off. You'll immediately see an AGI and a refund amount. Social Security wages, Medicare wages, and the withheld amounts will automatically calculate themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and tab off. Boom. Wow. Now you see that this guy's AGI is $12,277, and the refund amount is $6,916. Not bad. You can tell your client, so far I have you $6,916 before fees. All right. Now, you want to look at your W-2 very carefully, because this is very careful. Very, very important. You want to make sure that the W-2 that you have, the Social Security wages, and Medicare wages matches exactly what is on the W-2 from what's on the screen. I have seen incorrect, Social Security tax withheld and Medicare tax withheld. If you run into that problem, all you want to do is correct it. Just hit override, right click and hit override. Sorry. Type in what it originally is, tab off. You're not allowed to make up numbers, but if the numbers on W-2 are different, you have to make them different. Number 2, this number 2 box does not automatically calculate. You have to key it in depending on the amount of income that was withheld for each taxpayer. That amount would have been determined by, how they filled out their W-4 form when they first started working, how many dependents and exemptions they have, and things of that nature. But general rule of thumb is, if someone comes in and they've made $12,000, federal taxes withheld will not be over 10% of that. So 10% of $12,000 would be $1,200. So if someone came in with federal taxes withheld of $3,000, you know that that's something that somebody's made up. So we'll go ahead and type in, let's say they withheld $817. Type it in with tab off. Boom, you'll see that they gave that $817 in that refund. Now, if all this client has is a W-2, you will let that person know, hey, before fees, I got you getting back $7,733. And what I like to do, you guys also have a fee chart. Let's just say that this return was, $199. You'll go in and just subtract how much that person was going to receive minus fees and let that person know how much they'll get back, in their hand. All right. Very important. You guys will probably run into people that'll say, hey, look, I talked to such and such up the street and they say they'll give me $9,000, $10,000, so on and so on. Well, this is what some people are doing to get extra money. They'll go to that federal tax withheld box. They'll type in an extra number that wasn't there, and they'll hit tab. Boom. Do you see how the refund jumped from $7,700 to $9,700? Looks pretty amazing. It's in the federal tax withheld box, meaning this will land you in federal prison. Do not alter W-2s. Do not alter anything that of a tax form, such as a 1099 or W-2, anything. You're not allowed to alter or change anything in any of these forms. You want to keep them in exactly as the client gives them to you. All right. You want to look down at W-2 and make sure, if they're Social Security tips, put those on there. If they're allocated tips, put those on there. You guys will probably see a lot of this on full-time workers. Their retirement plan will have an X in it. Please put that there so they can, make sure that they're claiming everything that they need to claim from that W-2 or getting credit for everything. It's not going to boost their refund or anything, but, we want to key in the W-2 and have it exactly as the W-2 that's in our hand. Scroll all the way down and make sure that there's nothing on that W-2 that we hadn't keyed in. All right, we're going to go up top. Because we've keyed in everything that our fictitious or our imaginary W-2 has on it, and we're complete with it. And now there's a question that it's asking. And you'll see that this W-2 acknowledges, TP stands for taxpayer, and that person, this W-2 is from Kroger. Very quickly, once you type in one employee identification number for one company, let's say you have another person that comes in, they work for the same business, and you type in that employer ID. All of this information will calculate for you automatically. Kroger, where the address is, the zip code, all of that. Everything except, the income, of course. Every individual has their own separate income. So, the software does remember EIN numbers, and it will generate it once it's keyed in again. All right, simple enough, everybody. All right, if you have any questions, please write them down and hold them to the end of the lesson. All right, we're looking for red lines, red boxes, so we can finish out this form. This box here says, please verify the federal withholding, Social Security withholding, and Medicare withholding. Basically, you know, it just wants us to verify it. I mean, we can't call their job and ask, you know, about their W-2s and things like that. So we're just going to click on that box and hit tab off and move on. All right, if you guys want to learn what Publication 15 guidelines are, you can go to irs.gov, type in Publication 15 guidelines, and learn just more of what it's talking about the amount exceeds Publication 15 guidelines. All right. Done with the W-2. So now pretty much we're done with the client. You could tell the client, you know, the refund amount that he or she would receive in hand after fees. But the schedule EIC worksheet is demanding our attention. So what we're going to do is click on the schedule EIC worksheet, and what it wants us to do is actually answer some questions about the earned income credit. We're looking for red lines, red boxes. The first set of red boxes is above question 2, and it says, does the taxpayer have a Social Security number that allows him or her to work and is valid for EIC purposes? Basically what it's saying is, does the taxpayer have a Social Security number? Did this taxpayer give us a Social Security number? Yes, he has a Social Security number. So you click yes and you tab off. Number 4A says, was the taxpayer a non-resident alien for any part of the year? No. But if he was, you would select yes. Now pay attention to your refund. If he was a non-resident alien, meaning he didn't live in the U.S. all year, boom, you see what it did? It took away all that earned income credit from us. Okay. Number 6 says, could the taxpayer be a qualifying child of another person? Could our customer be a qualifying child of another person? In this case, no. But if the answer was yes, they could be a qualifying child of another person, boom, it takes that earned income credit away from us. So to get that earned income credit, you must be a full supporter of your own household. Can't be anyone else's dependent either. Alright, this question here is for the children, and we can answer this question for all the children at one time. Alright, it says qualifying children listed on Schedule EIC is either of the following true. The child is unmarried. So, yes, the child is unmarried because, you know, that would be true. These children are not married. Now, if by any chance, let's just say his oldest daughter was married. You hit tab, then boom, takes that earned income credit away. Did the child live with the taxpayer in the United States for over half a year? Yes. Yes. Let's say one of them didn't. What happens? Boom, it takes that earned income credit away. Do you or the taxpayer know of another person who can claim this child for earned income credit? No. And the reason why I'd ask that is because, like, a lot of times, you know, the IRS knows that, you know, we may have heard chit-chat in the waiting room and things of that nature, you know, where customers talking about, you know, different stuff. And so this is the first year I've ever seen it asked, do you or the taxpayer know of anyone else that can claim the child? But we're going to say no. All right. These are all John's children, and he you know, no one else can claim them. Does the qualifying child have a Social Security number that allows him or her to work and is valid for earned income credit purposes? Meaning, basically, does this child have a social? Yes or no? If you select no on any of them, then boom, you lose that earned income credit. So, you know, the taxpayer must have a social as well as the children must have a social to get that earned income credit. Now, if a person had an ITIN and, you know, their dependents didn't have a social, you hit that no, you know, they'll still be entitled to backup withhold, well, the federal withholding from their job and any other credit that they're due for. if they won't qualify for earned income credit. So we're just going to select yes for John. And we're going to scroll on down. And it says, if you took earned income credit on your 2012 income tax return, was the earned income credit reduced or disallowed for any other reason other than math or clerical error? That any other reason means, was it reduced, your earned income credit reduced because you improperly had the taxpayer answer a question for you, or were they just a dependent that you couldn't prove was yours? We'll select no in that case and tab off. Get a blue check mark. But let's just say in the case, someone does have to fill out a Form 8862. Let's just say someone did file their taxes last year and they did not get their earned income credit because they could not prove that the child was theirs. So we're going to select yes and we're going to tab off. And no, we don't have to add form. Tax-wise suggested. So now we'll click on Form 8862. And we start from the top. This is Form 8862, information to claim earned income credit after disallowance. Meaning that, this person's coming in and they're trying to claim earned income credit again after they've already tried to claim it before and it was disallowed on their part. Alright. So that means they probably got a letter in the mail that the IRS just did not give them, the earned income credit. Alright. In that case, your client would have more than likely, like I said, received a letter and they would have been prompted to reply back and respond and try to actually, get the IRS the information that they need. Alright. We're looking for red lines, red boxes. Here's a red box. It says, if you are required to fill in this form due to e-filing error code 600 or to prevent this reject, check here. What happens when a person doesn't tell us that they have to fill out Form 8862 is, the return is rejected, and no, it doesn't look bad on the taxpayer, the tax professional, which is yourself, because you don't know that person's situation. So, to prevent this reject again, we just click here. Okay. And then we fill out this form. And it says, enter the year for which you are filing this form that's carried over from the main info sheet. And it says, if the only reason your earned income credit was reduced or disallowed in the earlier year was because you incorrectly reported earned income or investment income, check yes. So you want to ask your client, okay, well, now we know that you need to fill out an 8862. Do you need to fill this 8862 out because you improperly reported your earned income or investment income? If they say yes, it was because they incorrectly reported income, click there. If no, that's the case 9 times out of 10, select there and tab off. No means that they tried to claim some children that were not theirs or they couldn't prove it. So we're going to scroll down and we're looking for red lines, red boxes. I hope I'm not losing any of you guys. I hope this is very simple to you guys because, like I say, you go through these returns, a couple of times on your own, it'll become second nature. It's very simple, very simple. All right, question number 4 says, enter the number of days each child lived with you in the United States during 2013. If all year, enter 365. So we're going to say yes, all of his dependents lived with him 365. But if it was a different, time, then key that in correctly as well. All right. The next thing that requires our attention is it says enter the address, city, state, and zip where the child lived during 2013. So we got to put in John's address. And if we don't remember John's address, there's 2 things we could do. One, you'll learn in shortcuts later on. Two, you can actually hit main info and get his address. Or you can look at your client organizer and get John's address. Alright. Now you don't have to enter the same address in for each child. It says if the address for child 2 is the same as for child 1, check here. So you can actually check that box, tab off, and do the same thing for the third child, tab off. And then get to your last and final question. And it says, did any other person except your spouse, if you're filing jointly, and your dependents under 19 live with child 1, 2, or 3 for more than half a year, shown on line 1. So now the IRS, since they want to, play games with the IRS wants to get all the way in their business now. It wants to know that anyone else live with them, just in case, a friend of theirs, they say they go ahead and put everybody else that lived with them in the house. Then a friend of theirs say, oh, okay, I'm going to file my taxes, and they file, like they lived at the same address and different things like that. So it's basically the IRS's way of getting you to tell on yourself. So we'll just say that John didn't have anyone else live with him besides his dependents. We're going to select no and hit tab. And boom, again, we are done with the form. There's nothing else more we can do, besides get ready to send it off. All right. Now, before we send off anything, you've seen how we've input a W-2, dependent care, expenses and things of that nature. We're going to act as if we were going to send it off before we move forward. And if we were going to send it off, we would hit diagnostics. Write that down. Diagnostics helps us know if there's any diagnostic errors detected, and if the tax return is ready to be e-filed. If this tax return is ready to be e-filed, this e-file button would be highlighted. You will click it, and that return is ready to be sent off. That return will be gone. But we're not ready to go ahead and e-file yet, so we're going to hit close on that. But remember, it's in diagnostics. And we're going to say that Mr. Smith needs to report some more income, as well as he needs to write some things off. All right. Now what we're going to do now is go ahead and we're going to, let's say he had a 1099. How will we put in a 1099? We would add form, and we would actually type in 1099. And we want to make sure that we have the exact 1099 that Mr. Smith needs. There are different types of 1099s, and I'll show you a few. There's 1099 miscellaneous. There's a 1099 C, there's a 1099G, there's a 1099R. Now, the beautiful thing I love about tax preparation is, in almost every situation besides self-employment or the Schedule A, your clients will come in and be accompanied with a form. If they don't have a form, you can't put it in. If they're trying to come in and claim unemployment, income, then they have to bring in the form for unemployment income. And you look at the top of the form and you see what type of 1099 is it? What is it? What do you type it in under? It'll have that information on the form. So, tax preparation is very simple. If a person doesn't have the form at the time, you can't really key it in. If they worked a job, they'll be accompanied by a W-2. If they were a subcontractor, they would be accompanied with a 1099. If they were in school and they're writing off some school and college expenses, they'll be accompanied with a 1098T. Everything that you do, pretty much, you'll be accompanied with some type of form. Self-employment is the only form in which you won't be accompanied by some type of 1099 form or W-2 and things of that nature. So we're going to just take a look at the 1099 miscellaneous, which is the standard form for when someone is bringing in a 1099. All right. So we double click on 1099 miscellaneous. Yes, it's going in our individual income tax return. And then it also has, which types of, 1099 miscellaneous are you trying to prepare. We're going to go ahead and select the Schedule C page 1. And Schedule C is just like, 1040. You have the standard long form Schedule C, and you have the EZ, Schedule C EZ. Jot this down. Schedule C EZ is used in situations where the income amount or the expenses of that income are no more than $5,000. On a Schedule C EZ, a client can only report up to $5,000 or write off expenses of up to $5,000. That's a Schedule C EZ. The standard Schedule C, a person can, have any type of income. All right. Now, we're going to open up this Schedule C for this 1099, and then the 1099 miscellaneous form pops up, and all you want to do is just verify that it looks exactly, like the 1099 in your hand. If it doesn't, maybe you selected the incorrect 1099. Hit Add Forms, type in 1099 miscellaneous again if it's not still there, hit Enter, and try which one you believe it is. If you need any help with this or have any questions, please don't hesitate to call management or upper management and get a solution or an answer to what you're keying in. Let's just say, by any chance, you selected the wrong 1099 and or the wrong form anywhere and you want to get rid of it. Go to your forms tree. Everybody paying attention? To remove a form, go to your forms tree, right click, remove form. Or you can remove form right here. Alright. But we're going to say that Mr. Smith actually had a 1099. And we're going to go ahead and fill in his name, John Smith. Tab off, because you'll run into people that actually have a lot of forms, W-2s. Some people are going to have 3-4 W-2s. Some people are going to have 2 W-2s and some self-employment. Some people are going to have a 1099 and some self-employment. Some people are going to have just 3-4 W-2s. Whatever they did during the year for income, we have to put it in. People that even, make tip income, they are allowed to file as well. They're required to file. Tip income will be someone such as, maybe a waiter or something that, gets a small portion of a W-2 or a small portion of pay standard, but, they'll have to make the rest doing, collecting tips. An example of someone that will get tip income that's required to file would be maybe like a dancer or such. They get paid in cash and in tips. And the IRS says, and this is very important for self-employment, to file self-employed, you must just simply make at least $400 in the prior year, and you are required to file. So, self-employment, a lot of people say, hey, self-employment, that's that bogus taxes and all that type of stuff. Well, no, that's incorrect. self-employed just means you're self-employed. It means that the income that you earn doesn't come off of a W-2 or a 1099. You found a source of income through, sole proprietorship. You created a business. You created, what we like to call a hustle. Some people babysit. Some people wash cars. Some people, you know, cut hair, do hair. Some people paint. The rappers you see selling their CDs outside of Walmart and stuff like that. They're entrepreneurs. They're self-employed. Anything that anyone does to generate legal money is self-employed, and they must file. All right. Now, we're going to go back and talk about the 1099 for a bit, and we have to enter in, this info exactly as if it is on the 1099. And wherever, the income is on 1099, usually, it's right here in line 7. We just go ahead and enter it in, tab off, and boom, you'll see a change happen to the AGI as well as the refund. Sometimes it'll go up, sometimes it'll go down. Hey, we just have to key it in. One thing about 1099s and W-2s, the employer usually go ahead and reports this to the IRS before the employee gets it. So, that's how the IRS knows if it's incorrect or if it's some, funny going on with a W-2 or a 1099, because they already have a copy of it. Things may be moving at a fast pace during the beginning of the tax season, and everything is computerized. So, something may slip here and there. But, that's not something that people can count on, and you definitely don't want to, jeopardize yourself trying to get somebody some extra money they're not due just because, and then, the IRS already has it on record, and that person's going to receive a letter anyway stating that they're going to have to pay back. A lot of other tax services, I get clients that come to me from different other services, and they say, hey, look, we went here and, they got us all this money, woo woo, but we have to pay this money back. Is there a way we don't have to pay this money back? And, I just let them know, no, you shouldn't have done that. The IRS is going to want not just the portion of incorrectly filed income. They're going to want the entire refund amount back. So, just tell a person, if it's not on this 1099 or W-2, I can't put it in. Not on this, not on here. If it's something else you got to put in, then it'll have to be as far as self-employment. If they can calculate the figures for you and let you know what to do, you can do it then. All right. So we're done keying in a 1099. That's what a 1099 looks like. Just match it up. If there's no federal withholding on a 1099, don't put any federal withholding on a 1099. Leave it blank. Leave it exactly how it is. All right. The next subject of issue is on this Schedule C, page 1. On this Schedule C, the Schedule C popped up because we selected that 1099 miscellaneous. And it has the amount of the 1099 miscellaneous already on it, but it pops up just to say, okay, this person here, if he was a subcontractor, then he is entitled to write off expenses and things of that nature, from his subcontractor job status. But we're going to just say that John had no expenses. For this job he worked. You can just right click and click estimate, to get rid of red lines. Okay. His accounting method was cash. That means how did he get paid? Well, no, he received a check. So we'll select other and type in check. He didn't materially participate. No, he didn't make any payments that will require him to fill out Form 1099. So we'll tab off because, for this particular 1099, he didn't have any expenses. All right. Sounds simple enough? Great. We're going to discuss one or two more forms, and then we'll get into actual self-employment. All right. Let's just say, for instance, John wanted to write off some expenses. The form in which you write off expenses is Schedule A. You guys can jot that down. Schedule A is the form in which you write off the expenses and deductions. Itemization and deduction is done on Schedule A. Itemization and deduction. Alright, so to get to Schedule A, of course, we will go to Find Forms or Add Forms. Then we will type in Schedule A. And you'll see right here that it says it's for federal itemized deductions. And this is what your Schedule A looks like. Now, if you guys will quickly jot these things down, okay, you already have Schedule A is for itemized deductions. Schedule B is for interest and dividends. What that is interest and dividend income. What interest and dividend income is let's just say, someone's they had X amount of dollars in the bank and they made income off of it. Then you would use a Schedule B to type that in using the form in which they will bring you. I doubt that you'll see things like that because usually people that have that type of money in the bank already have CPAs and things like that. Also, because the interest rates with the banks are so low right now, they're like 1%. You could have in $100 grand and you wouldn't see more than $20 worth of interest income in an entire year. So, that's something that, it'll be rare, pretty rare. All right. So, Schedule A, itemized deductions. Schedule B, interest and dividends. Schedule C, self-employment or small business returns. Self-employment or small business returns. And we're going to pause here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Schedule A and the laws and limitations of it.